Huh?
Go ahead.
We are in Austin, Texas, and we're presenting the Torah Parashat. This week is beginning with Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 1, and the Parsha name is Devarim. So we are going to be looking at what Devarim means and take a look at the beginning part of the journey in the book of Deuteronomy, Devarim, and take a look and see what Moses has to say to the children of Israel. And apparently what he's saying here is not by command, so he's not just quoting Yahweh and telling the people what Yahweh's saying, but he's taking it upon himself to give them some words. And you'll find out later on as we go through the book of Deuteronomy that he is very concerned that they will be able to stay on the path that God wants them to stay on. So we are going to go up to beginning in verse 1, and it starts off, Eleh hadevarim asher diber Moshe el kol Israel ba'avar hayardan ba'midbar ba'arba'ah mulsof Bain Paran, Ubain Tofel, Velevan, Vahatse Rot, Vadiv Zahav, Vadiv Sahav, Disahav. That means literally plenty of gold. I like that. So we'll go back up now and we'll start with these words. As you probably know by now, having gone through a few Torah Parshas with us, that this is not the normal way that Moses starts off his teaching for the people of Israel. Normally he would start off by Daber Yahweh el Moshe lemor, the word of Yahweh to Moses saying. And that tells you the authenticity and the source of the words that he's giving. Now, he doesn't use those words here. Instead, he says, Eleh hadabarim asher diber Moshe el kol Yisrael ba'avar hayardan ba'midbar ba'arba mulsof Bain Paran, Ubain Tofel. And so anyway, I wanted to go up to this, address this beginning opening statement because it's so unusual for Moses to start any kind of instructions off that he gives without saying this came directly from the mouth of Yahweh. So, Eleh hadevarim, these are the matters or the words asher diber Moshe, which spoke Moses, el kol Israel, to all of Israel, ba'avar hayardan, on this side of the Jordan. Now, on this side of the Jordan is not correct. It says ba'aver, and that means in crossing the Jordan. So why they translated this on this side of the Jordan, I can't figure because that takes everything out of context. So where are they? Well, they've just crossed over the Jordan. They're at the crossing point. So to say on this side of the Jordan confuses the reader. They don't know where he's at. But to say in crossing the Jordan, now you know exactly where he's at. They're at the Jordan, they're crossing over, and this is the words that Moses spoke to the people of Israel as they cross over. Now the Torah is full of metaphor as well as realistic points of the locale where they were. So when it says which Moses spoke unto all Israel on this side of the Jordan. That's just so confusing. I don't know. I wish they would just, I get my Bible out and scratch those words out of there and put in crossing over. Because ever is where we get the word over.
Rabbi,
Okay. Yes,
when they're
sir.
crossing the Jordan, are they going from east to west or west to east?
Well, they're going to be going from the east, the direction of the rising of the sun, to the west.
Okay. That makes
Okay.
sense.
And so they're crossing over the Jordan. Now, we had an old song in the Baptist church about the Jordan. Do you remember it? Or maybe you didn't sing that song. I don't know. But the song, the words of the song go, "We won't have to cross Jordan alone. Jesus died there, our sins to atone." So the crossing over of Jordan has a metaphor of death. You die when you cross Jordan. So you're on the one side of Jordan. That's not the promised land. It's leading to the promised land, but it's not the promised land. And so then they cross over the Jordan. That's a picture of death. And so when they cross over and they arrive at the death side of this promised land, now they're entering into the promise. And that's where the land is divided up and given to the children of Israel. And of course, Moses did the initial dividing, and I guess Joshua was taking everybody physically over and into the promised land because Moses didn't get to go with him. All right. So when crossing the Jordan, you need to keep that metaphor in mind. But they were in the wilderness, Arba Molsuf. Get those vowels twisted there. So they were in the Arba, the plain or the wilderness that was before the Red Sea, what we call the Red Sea, which was probably more literally the Sea of Reeds. And then between Paran and between Tophal. It's interesting because Tophal means white and Laban means white. Tophel means white and Lavan means white. So Lavan probably because of the snow-covered peaks on the mountains in the northern part of Israel. And then Chatzerot, which literally means maybe a small village where there are lots of houses and courtyards. Okay. Hatzeroth and Di Zahav. Di means sufficient, plenty. And Zahav means gold. So this is a place where there is plenty of gold. Interesting, isn't it? Verse 2, Echad Esar Yom. Echad Esar means literally the 11 days, make Horeb, from Horeb, the mountain, on the derek of Mount Asir. So it's on the road, the highway or the road going to Mount Seir. And my page jumped on me. Let me go back and see. The 11th month on the first day of the month. But Echad La Hodesh. So this is the first at the beginning, or the Chodesh. Echad Chodesh, one of the day one of the month. Diber Moshe el Bnei Yisrael Kikol, according to everything Asher Tzivah Yahweh, which Yahweh had commanded him unto them. So he's got a message he's bringing to the people of Israel, and he feels it's very important to deliver this message because according to the things that God showed him before he went to his mountain experience and was translated into the other place, he believed that the people of Israel would not follow God's instructions at all. But he hoped that something would get through to them so they would. So his hopes were that they would change, that they would be able to change their nature. Let me just take a little quickie sidestep here. And let's start off with some prayer because it always goes better when I pray, when we start these studies up. Avinu Shabbat, our Father who is in the heavens, we honor you this day by studying your Torah, by learning your mitzvot, your commandments, and your instructions to us. And we ask you, Lord, that you would be here with us as we study, because we don't have the brains to encompass this whole thing, but you do. This is your word, Lord, so please bless us with your understanding and knowledge of the words that we are reading. Let it be more than just words to us, Lord, but let it go deep into our soul so that we'll have it and be able to recall it at times when it's necessary as we are studying other portions of your word. Thank you, Father. Thank you for your commandments, and thank you for your word and for Moses and for the people of Israel that were journeying with him to the promised land. And we just bring all these things into you, Lord, and ask for your shalom. Everybody say, Lord, I'm hungry. I ask you to feed me with your word. And I'm thirsty, Lord. Saturate my soul with living water. So I'll have plenty to feed to others. In the name of Messiah Yeshua. Amen. Baruch Hashem. You may be seated. So we see that here in this very first couple of verses, there are a couple of very interesting little things to think on. I love the word of Yahweh. I know Moses did too. He valued it so highly. And when we think of it, when he says, Vaydaber Yahweh el Moshe lemor, that is so powerful because Moses is having to say, Yahweh spoke to me. That's a very humbling experience. I know that when God told me to say certain things to people, I choked on it. It was hard for me to get that out because it sounded almost like arrogance to come out of my mouth that way. And I didn't want to be perceived as arrogant, and I didn't want the words that I spoke to be perceived as coming from me. For that reason and other reasons, I want to be trusted as a servant of Yahweh. And then he says, here's what he told Moses. It's just the same kind of a phrase he's told me in the past. He says, my servant Moses is the meekest man on the whole face of the earth. And Moses is expected to write that down. Are you following what I'm trying to say here? Mm-hmm. It sounds like self-pride and fake humility trying to write that way, and yet nobody who's being humble would write that. Right. So it would have to be by ordinance of command of God, or he wouldn't have written it. So to me, that is just amazing to see that. And sometimes he has me say something like King David in this prophecy is me, and I'm sitting there going, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that. Don't make me say. But that's what he told me. So what am I supposed to say? You know, and so I'm in a box just like Moses was. He had to say it. I mean, if he's going to be a faithful servant of Yahweh, he has to say whatever God says. So I understand that mindset. I understand him writing it, and I understand him not liking to have to write it. Right. And then a lot of people say, well, that couldn't have been Moses because he was humble. He wouldn't have written that, you know. Well, no, because he was humble, he would have written it. Well, I have one guy told me, right, one guy told me one time, he says, you ought not to said this in the sermon, blah, 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 you know. And I said, you need to talk to God about that. Why? You say God gave you that to say? I said, I do. He said, well, a little say about that. And he went off grumbling. And about 2 months later, he came back to me personally and said, I am sorry, man. I was wrong, and you were right. But he still didn't come back anymore after that. It was like he was saying that I would use that as an excuse to say just anything I wanted to the people. Well, I don't get to say just anything I want to the people. I have to say what God says. And I've seen lights go on behind people's eyes when I do that. So I know that it's the Word of God getting through me, getting through him. And it's a very humbling thing to have happen. Very humbling. So here he is in verse 4. Acharei means literally after, of, and then the next topic tells you after what. Hakoto, he had slain et Sichon, Melech Haimori. So he slew Sichon, the king of the Amorites. Asher Yoshev Beheshbon, which dwelt in Heshbon, and Og, king of Bashan, which dwelt at Ashtaroth, and that's the pagan deity, the female virgin priestess, high priestess, god of the Middle East. But Edrei, and Edrei, I looked that up a minute ago, and now my mind won't pull it back up. But it's the equivalent of mighty. So Asherah dwells in mighty as well. So Asherah is synonymous with Edrei, which means mighty, and Asherah means happy, and it's the pagan female goddess, spring fertility goddess. So she's always got her little fingers in there trying to replace Yahweh.
Mm-hmm. She was the wife of Baal?
Well,
She's kind of known by many different names.
Bel means literally master. It also means husband. So, wife of Bel. Bel actually, that means husband, and she was the pagan fertility goddess. And it probably makes sense on a logical level to tie her and Baal together. But there's nothing in history that I can find. Got a lot of books on ancient deities, And nothing in history can I find that ties the two together that way. But it is a logical conclusion to make if you're in the mood to do some thought jumping. Yeah. So anyway, Asherah then certainly was the heavenly goddess, the queen goddess. But that fact is very well expressed in the book that I have on ancient deities. In verse 5 it says, Ba'evar har Yardan, that means in crossing over the Jordan. Ba'eretz Moav, and the land of Moav, Hoil, began Moses, Ba'er, they said it's to declare here. Let me see what it says in the exhaustive concordance. To dig, to engrave, figuratively, to explain. So declare, I guess, would be a sufficient translation for the moment. Et HaTorah, the Torah Hazot, this Torah, Lemor, saying. So he's declaring this Torah, which he has begun to explain to the people of Israel. And then it says, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh our God, Diber Eloheinu, he spoke unto us, B'Horev, in Mount Horeb. That's where God uttered the 10 utterances that came from the mountain, and the people said, oh, we're afraid, don't let God talk to us because we'll die. You go see what he wants to say and tell us and we'll believe you. Because they were really ready to, they thought God was going to take that mountain and drop it on their poor little heads. And they just were too terrified to listen to what he had to say. They're still that way, aren't they?
Yeah. Yep.
Panu means literally you face. Turn you. V'sa'u, okay. Now sa'u means to begin a journey. Face and begin to take a journey. Lechem, to your journey, and go to Har Ha'imari, the mountain of the Amorites. V'el kol Shechanav, which is nearby, close by. Araba, the plain. Bahar, in the mountain. Bashpala, in the valley, or the valley. Negev, and in the south. Bachof, and by side, let me just get down here where I can read this a little more, of Hayam, the sea. So this is close to the Reed Sea that they had just come through. Eretz HaKanani, this is the land of the Canaanites. The Lebanon, and into Lebanon, unto Ad means up into Ha-Nahar, the river, Ha-Gadol, the great river, Nahar, Parat, and Parat is from Euphrates. Re means look, for behold. Natati, I have set, lifnechem, before you all, et ha'eretz, the land. Bo'u, y'all go, urashu, Urshu, and that's, remember what I told you about Resh, when you put a Yud in front of it? It changes it to Yarish, and Yarish means an inheritance, but Resh means poverty. Okay, so here he says, and Rashu, y'all go inherit, because we're assuming a Yud in front of it, because see the U here is doubled. It's got, it's this, the Vav has a dagish in the middle of it. Do you see that? Yeah. And that tells us that there's a missing letter between the Vav and the next letter. So this is going to be Yarish. And Yarish means inheritance. Okay? So this is a Vav conversi with an absorbed Yud. So you would pronounce the Yud twice even. Vayar. That's how this would be pronounced. 2 syllables. Vayar. Vayarishu. And that means, and your inheritance, et haaretz, the land. Et is the direct object. So the eretz is the object of this phrase. So we have, you are going to possess the land. So et shows that the direct objects of what you're going to inherit is the land. Asher nishba, nishba. Nishba means generally swore Yahweh unto your fathers. So the nun in front means that this is generally speaking, he said this to your fathers, which also by way of extension includes you. So if I told Shane, let's say I was Shane's father's boss, and I told him, if you do this job well, there will be a huge reward in it for you and your son. Okay? So now, when I made that promise, it was not just to your father, but it extends itself by default to you, and that you will receive part of the blessing of that promise. You understand what I'm saying? So the generally speaking part of this is pointing toward la'avotechem, to your, to the fathers of y'all. Moses can't help himself. He was from Texas. So unto Abraham, Isaac, and to Jacob. So he's including all 3 of these men as the recipients of this promise, of this oath that he made. And l'teit lachem, to give unto them, and to zaram, their seeds, acharechem, after them. So their seeds are all included in the promise. You follow me? And spoken to you at that time, at time hahib. Remember what I told you about, if that was an aleph, then it would be et, but it would be like a ta, like you, the word you, masculine. So ba'et would be in the time. Now remember, we've got this dagish in the middle of that first letter, and that tells us what? Anybody? Well, the bet absorbed another letter here. And we can click here, and we can see what it is. Well, actually, I guess it didn't absorb a letter, which means that's a dagish forte. And I don't know how to extrapolate that for you any better than that. But it is speaking of et, because it's got the ayin instead of the aleph, and that means it's going to be at that time. And again, that time is emphasized, hahiv. Hahiv literally means he. At the time he. He pointing to the time, so it's an emphasis on the time and place. And then saying, lo you call. You are not, I am not able, ukal. Literally, I am not able. The aleph is the I part of this. Ukal is kind of a plural here. Not able. Libadi, by myself. Se'et, to bear, etchem, you all. I'm not able to bear you. Yahweh Elohechem, y'all's God, Hirba has multiplied, etchem, you, Vahinchem, and behold you all, Hayom, this day. Now, remember, this is a time-based word here. Yom. And because it's a time-based day, you don't know for sure what Yom unless something else around it tells you what day it's speaking of. And the direct object that's attached to the front of it tells us that it's this day, today. So it is correctly translated. And behold, you are this day, kikokve, as the stars of Hashemayim, the heavens, larov, for a multitude, or toward a multitude. So they've increased in number since they've been journeying out in the wilderness. Yahweh Elohei Avotechem, the God of your fathers, Yosef, make so many, increase you, or gather more, Aleichem, unto you, Kichem, as you all are, Elef, 1,000 pa'amim, turns, 1,000 turns. In other words, multiply almost infinite by 1,000.
Wow, that was a lot.
Yeah.
They like the tents.
The barech, and you remember the word barach mean?
Blessed.
Here it is right there. And he bless you, etechem yalla. Et is the sign of the direct object of where this blessing is going to go. Vaybarech etchem. And bless you are the ones who are the receiving of the blessing. Ki asher diber lechem. Just as he promised to you. Now, this is understood to be masculine. Why is that? Can you remember? Okay, according to the rules of Hebrew and grammar, if a verb doesn't tell you that it's male or female, it's assumed to be male. Okay? So, and this one doesn't have any indication as to whether it's male or female. So guess what? It's assigned to the pronoun he. And this is where it's at right here. Okay? And he is assumed because it doesn't show it's male or female. The bear is the word, matter or thing. So this is going to be as which the word unto you. He gave his word unto you. And so therefore it's assumed to be a fact. Isn't that good? And then in verse 12, how can I bear myself alone, libadi, alone, myself, by myself? Esa means literally to pick up or carry. So echa means literally how I can carry by myself tarchachim, your encumbrance, your burdens, your weight. And here it repeats for the burden, masha'akim, excuse me. Let's see what it says here. It's from masa, that's the root, masa, a burden, specifically tribute or porterage or figuratively utterance. So he says, look, you guys are just too much for me. I can't carry this. There's 1.6 million people. How am I supposed to keep handling all of your burdens and all of your lawsuits and your squabblings and fightings and disagreements? I can't do that by myself. And your strife, it says here. Rivachem.
Oh, that was a lot, Rabbi. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how that burden would be.
Havo. Take, this is translated take, to you. Havu. If I said that Shane had a Torah, and I give him a command, Bo et ha-Torah li, bring your Torah to me, you would understand automatically that he's bringing the Torah, because the Torah doesn't have legs that it can just walk on and come into my presence, right? And so here it says, take to you anashim. Now, men have legs, but here we see that Moses is being instructed by God to take the anashim, the men, hachamim, and that means wise. Okay? That means knowing, knowledgeably, and hachamim is wisdom that you apply to it. It still has to do with your mind, but it has to do with what you're doing with it. Are you just handling data, or are you figuring out crafty ways to use the data? Okay? So hachamim is the crafty or wise way of handling the data. And then understanding and known among your people, the tribes, Shiftechem, and Shevet, it means the leadership's rod. It's the sign of authority to rule the tribes. Okay, so the Shevet is the leader's staff. And he says, V'esimem, and I will make them, these men that you're bringing that are wise, I will make them berashechem. They will become your heads, or your rulers, your leaders. V'teyanu, and you answered, ot, to me, v'tomru, and we said, tov, good. The thing which you spoke to do is good. So they're in favor of it. This is one of the few times they're in favor of what Moses does. Like, well, they probably were really tired of sitting out there all day long waiting for someone to judge their matter, you know. So verse 15, Vayichach, so I took it, Roshé, the chiefs of, Shabbatechem, your tribes, Anashim, men, Hakamim, of wisdom, Viduim, and here's the Yada is the root here. Yada. Remember that word? Yada means to know, and if you use it inappropriately, it could not be a very good thing to know. Anyway, and made them Rashim, heads, Alechem, over you, Sharei, captains of, Elophim, thousands, Sharei, captains of, hundreds would be the next one. Oops. Hundreds, Maot, and Rashi Hamishim, captains over 50s, Vayasharei Asarot, of tens, captains of tens, the Shofrim, officers, L'Shabbatechem, among your tribes. So all of these assignments were things that God instructed. You know, first he used his father-in-law to tell him that this is a wise way to handle so many people, because it's going to kill you and them if you try to keep this up. So he says, check with the Lord, and if he approves, this might be a good answer for you. And he gave him this concept. And so he says he prayed, and sure enough, God approved his use of this. And so he had helpers who were doing various functions, including the guards. I would call that the guards of his staff from among all the tribes. And I charged your judges at that time, saying, hear between your brethren, and judge righteously between a man and his brother, and between the sojourners that are with him. So he's got all these people in place now that he trusts. They've got a spirit of wisdom that God's pointed out, and they are the ones that he trusts among all of Israel. They become his helpers. Verse 17, Lo takiru, you shall not regard or respect panim, based upon recognition of a face or their skills or their capabilities. You'll not respect persons in judgment, ba mishpat, in judgment. Ka katon, the katon is the little. Remember the talit katon? Shane, you remember that? It means small. Talit katon. You have the little talit on your belt? That's a talit katon. It's little. Okay? And so that's the word katon means literally small.
Where's that word right there in the top left?
It's right here at the end of the top line. In judgment you shall not regard the small, or ka gadol, the great. Gadol meaning huge. Okay? Tishmaun, you shall hear, and it's an imperative usage of the verb to listen to. Here's you, shma, un. And the un turns it into the imprecatory, mandatory. But you are going to hear not ti guru, and that means literally to be afraid. Mifnei ish, before a man, because ha mishpat, the judgment, le Elohim, is from God. Interesting, huh? God, and then who is the next word, which means he. Remember, who means he and he means she in Hebrew, right? So you can remember it that way, right?
Okay, that's a good way, yeah.
Yeah. The hadabar and the cause, ashir yikseh, asheh, yikseh, is too hard. Kasha means too hard. Okay. Michem, from you. Takrivun, here it is, the mandatory or imperative ending. You are going to take, and it's imperative that you take it, Eli, unto me. And Shema, Tiv, and I will listen to him. Him meaning it is the matter that's being discussed. He will hear it. Moses will. Okay, so now it is about 7:45, and I want to certainly get through this parsha before we run out of time like we did last time. It's funny because sometimes the parsha, I'll think, oh, this is going to go so fast. What am I going to do with the leftover time? Well, we never have leftover time.
Too much content
Mhm.
In it, that's why.
to discuss something.
Yeah, indeed.
Do y'all find all this interesting so far?
We're doing our best to keep up if we're not.
Well, that's why I'm trying to go back and refresh your memory on things that
Yeah.
we studied in the past.
Engagement helps. The mind, no matter what we do, just tends
Sure.
to after a while, no matter how involved the information is, just tend to.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, for a long time I was reading this, and I was trying to remember what these words are meaning as I'm reading them here, and I'm just going, oh, blankness, you know. And God looked down upon the face of the deep, and behold, it was blank. And so for a while there, I was at the point that I just starting to feel discouraged with trying to learn Hebrew. And I said, Lord, I need your help. I ask you to help me to recall these things and help me to remember them. And I just kept plugging away at it over and over and over, and looking up words when I didn't know what they meant, and constantly just going back and forth, looking up the words and trying to refresh my memory and everything. And then I noticed after several months of this, and I was feeling like I wasn't learning a blasted thing, all of a sudden, some of these words started clicking into place. And it
Makes
was
sense.
almost without thinking. And I'm noticing now that many of these words, my brain is starting to see them and understand them, and I can read it in Hebrew, but I can't necessarily say it in English. Are you following me?
That's what happens. That was happening to Yochanan.
But what's exciting is that I'm reading it and understanding it, and I'm not having to look up so many words lately, you know?
That's good.
And so to me, that really got me excited. Now it's starting to feel like that this is worth it, you know, that it's pulling together. And sometimes I'll read a word and I'll say, I know that word, what is that word? And then I'll click on the definition. I say, well, of course. You know what I'm saying? So, don't get discouraged. And don't feel like that you're not learning anything. You cannot waste time studying the Hebrew, okay? And eventually, you'll start remembering too, because you'll hear it often enough. Oh, Shema, I know that word. Oh yeah, Shema Yisrael, Adonai, and you'll put it all together, and it'll just suddenly start growing and developing with you. So, like right here, ta'aseh, you should do. Oseh, Shalom Bimroma, you who makes peace in the heavens. Grant peace unto us and all of the house of Israel, And so you'll get that oseh, and you'll go, oh man, I know that word. I do. I remember it means make or do or be, you know? And so you're just sitting there and you'll be reading along, and all of a sudden it just starts making more and more sense. And I'm at a point right now where it is so exciting because these things will sneak up on me and I'll get their meaning and I don't even realize I had it. I had it so easily and it just almost slips past me. I love that, you know. So I hope that's giving you some cause for excitement too. You just keep struggling at it and keep working at it. And you may not remember it 3 days from now. Well, guess what? When the next time you go over it again, it'll be put in there a little more. And the next time, a little bit more. Until finally you'll see that word and you'll say the things which you should do. Oh, well, of course. How did I know that? It doesn't even have the Vav in front of it. Oh, it's got the Tav. Oh, okay, I get it. And you'll just keep growing and learning as you go. That's really beautiful. I absolutely adore Hebrew. It's like candy. It's like eating candy. So I just praise God so much for it. So I commanded you at that time that all the things which you should do when we depart from Horeb, when we departed from Horeb. And we went through all of the wilderness, great and terrible, that which you saw by the way of the mountain of the Amorites, just as Yahweh our God commanded unto us, Nabo, and we came, generally speaking, Naba would be kind of like Anu, and it's got the nun there, so we know, so it pluralizes it. Are you following me? And so this is a rule that I had forgotten, and now I see it, I remember it, you know. So you study it, later you see it, and you go, of course. And you keep moving on. And so we came to Kadesh Barnea. Kadesh means holy, or it means, I forget what it means. It means desert of a fugitive. Not sure how they got that. Kadesh is the same as a sanctuary, and sanctuary is a place that is set aside, set apart, special. So it does mean holy. And let's go to the next verse. And I said unto you, I'm going to go ahead and switch to the English so we can make a little faster journey. This is from the try to get that to open up there. Now this is from the Complete Jewish Bible, so it'll make it a little bit more sense in the way that we use the words. There I said unto you, you have come to the hill country of the Emori, which Yahweh your God, our God, is giving unto us. Look, Yahweh your God has placed the land before you. Go take possession, as Yahweh, the God of your ancestors, has told you. Don't be afraid. Don't be dismayed. I think Moses got a little streak of paranoia there, because he did a little flashback to the last time they came to this place and God said, go take possession of the land. But the 12 spies said, oh no, we can't do that, remember? And so he's gotten a little case of paranoia here. Don't be afraid, don't be dismayed, you go up and take that land. Are you hearing me? And he's like, I don't know how old he is here, but he's probably somewhere in his, I don't know, 110, 120 years old, something of that nature. Yeah. Then in verse 22 it says, you approached me, every one of you, and said, let's send men ahead of us. And that's where he sent the 12 spies in. To bring back word concerning the route we should use in going up to what cities we will encounter are like there. And the idea seemed good to me, so I took 12 of your men, one from each tribe, and they set out. And as I recall, it was actually God that gave him the men to take with him. And I think it's because he was teaching Moses a lesson as well as the children of Israel. But anyway, Moses, I don't know if he had a little slip in memory or what, but the 12 guys they sent up went up to the hills, came to Eshcol Valley. Eshcol means a cluster of grapes, remember? And he reckoneered it, and they took some of the produce, the grapes, and brought it down to us. They also brought back word to us, the land of Yahweh our God has given us, the land Yahweh our God has given us is good. It's a good land. But you would not go up. Instead, you rebelled against the order of Yahweh your God, and in your tents you complained. It's because Yahweh hated us that he has brought us out of the land of Egypt, only to hand us over to the Emorite to destroy us. Well, those guys better watch their mouths, right? Verse 28. What sort of a place is it that we're headed for? Our brothers made our courage fail when they said the people are bigger and taller than we are. The cities are great and fortified up to the sky, and finally we have seen Anakim there. Remember Anakim? Yeah. And these were the giants. Verse 29, I answered you, don't be fearful, don't be afraid of them. Yahweh your God is going to go ahead of you and will fight on your behalf and accomplish all those things for you in Egypt. All those things for you in Egypt before your eyes, just as he accomplished all those things for you in Egypt before your very eyes. And likewise, in the desert where you saw how Yahweh your God carried you like a man carries his child, along the entire way you traveled until you arrived at this place. Yet in this manner you don't trust Yahweh your God. See, he's very paranoid here, isn't he? Even though he went ahead of you, and it certainly would have been with cause that he had paranoia. Even though he went ahead of you, seeking out places for you to pitch your tents and showing you which way to go, by a fire at night and by a cloud during the day. Yahweh heard what you were saying and became angry and swore, not a single one of these people, this whole entire evil generation, will seek the good that I have sworn to give to your ancestors, except Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, and he will see it. And I will cause him and his descendants in the land that he walked on.
He missed one.
Huh?
He missed one.
Well, he hadn't got to Joshua yet.
But he didn't mention Joshua. No.
Right. He does in the next paragraph. He will see it. I will give him his descendants the land that he walked on because he fully followed Yahweh. Also, everybody say also. See, he didn't forget. He just was bringing it in a little later. Because of you, Yahweh was angry with me and said, you too will not go in there. Yehoshua, son of Nun, your assistant, he will go in there. So encourage him. Because he will enable Israel to take possession of it. And moreover, your little ones. So he didn't forget Joshua. He was applying it in a different text. Everybody knew Joshua didn't fail God, but he was bringing it in to show that Moses, had failed God, and that Joshua was his replacement to go into the promised land. Moreover, your little ones who you said would be taken as booty, and your children who didn't yet know good from bad, they will go there. I will give it to them, and they will have possession of it. But as for you yourselves, turn around and head into the desert by the road of the Sea of Reeds. And then you answered me, we have sinned against Yahweh. Now we will go up and fight in accordance with everything Yahweh our God has ordered us. And every man among you put on his arms and considered it an easy matter to go up into the hill country. But Yahweh said to me, tell them, don't go up and don't fight, because I am not there with you. If you do, your enemies will defeat you. How many of you remember the old original Willy Wonka's chocolate factory?
Yes.
And the children were going into his factory, and they were going to go in and eat this candy and that candy, and Willy Wonka says, "No, don't, please stop." And they wouldn't stop. They wouldn't stop and listen. And guess what? They paid the price for it because the girl, remember, she ate the blueberry condensed meal that's supposed to blow up into a whole blueberry pie or something, and she ate it and she turned it into a blueberry. And they had to go in and bleed the blue juice out of her. But it was funny. I couldn't help but think of that movie when I was reading about how he said,
The original.
"No,
not the one
don't
with
go
Johnny
up
Depp.
there." But they insisted, and then they got destroyed, And so it was like right out of the movie. So, Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. I guess he must have been a Jew because I know where he got that story. So I told you, but you wouldn't listen. Instead, you rebelled against Adonai's orders and took matters into your own hands and went up to the old country. And where the Emori living in that hill country came out against you like bees, defeated you in Seir, and chased you back all the way to Hormah. And you returned and cried out before Yahweh, but Yahweh neither listened to what you said or paid any attention to you. This is why you had to stay in Kadesh as long as you did. Then we turned and began traveling through the desert along the road of the Red Sea. Yahweh had said to me, and we skirted Mount Seir for a long time. Oh, as Yahweh had said to me. And we skirted Mount Seir for a long time. Finally, Yahweh said to me, "You have been going around this mountain long enough. Head north and give this order to the people. You are to pass through the territory of your kinsmen, the descendants of Esau who live in Seir. They will be afraid of you, so be very cautious. Don't get into disputes." Don't get into disputes with them, for I am not going to give you any of their land, no, not even enough for 1 foot to stand on, inasmuch as I have given Mount Seir to Esau in his possession. Pay them money for the food you eat, and pay them money for the water you drink. For Yahweh your God has blessed you in everything your hands have produced. He knows that you have been traveling through a vast desert these 40 years. Yahweh your God has been with you, and you have lacked nothing. So we went on past our kinsmen, the descendants of Esau, living in Seir, left the road through the Arava from Eilat and Etzion Gever, and turned to pass along the road through the desert of Moab. Yahweh said to me, "Don't be hostile towards Moab or fight with them, because I will not give you any of their land to possess, since I have already given it to Ar, to the descendants of Lot, as their territory." The Emim used to live there, and a great numberous people, as tall as the Anakim. They are also considered Rephaim, as are the Anakim, but the Moabim call them Emim. In Seir, the Horim used... Huh?
Is there any time to expand those words? The meaning
Sure.
of
Which
those
words you want to expand?
It's from the words that the 8 through the end of 12.
Okay.
So for actually, let me focus on 10 through 12 for the sake of time. The Emim. What does that mean in Hebrew? Can we expand on the meaning of that?
Sure.
To give context to what is being said here, because for many years I just glazed over this because I just when I went to study the meaning or where the source of these words were, I found opinions of man trying to apply their own theologies, and I'd rather get to what the root of.
Okay,
the
well,
words
we'll
is
start
in.
with Mount Seir. Seir. It means rough.
Huh.
Okay.
Right.
Mountainous, hilly, rough terrain.
Okay.
And then Miazon. Okay, let's look at Elat, the plain of Elat. Me'elat. Come on. There we are. It means literally a grove of trees. Okay. From Elat and from Etzion, Geber, backbone like of a man. And we turned and passed by the way of the wilderness of Moab. And see, Moabites continue within the middle. What?
10. Just go. There it is. Demims. 10. That's the word I wanted to expand upon.
Lot or R?
Memes. 10.
EM 368 number.
You don't see it, Rabbi? Down.
You mean right here?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's means terrors. That was early Moabitish tribe.
They're terrors.
Mm-hmm.
The terrors used to live there, great and numerous people, as tall as the Anakim. Okay, that's starting to make a lot of sense. What does the Raphaim mean?
Rephaim.
11.
Next verse.
Yes. They were also considered the Raphaim.
Invigorating a giant.
Ah, okay. So that continues. Okay.
And who were accounted also with
Call them
Anakim.
terrors. So giants like the Titans, but they were called terrors. Okay, that helps clarify this. And then what is the Horim? What is in 12? What does the Horim mean?
Okay, let's go back there. Anakim's, and there's the E-memes again.
12.
Mount Seir dwelt the Horims. It's Horim.
Can you bring it up,
I will.
Robetson?
It means a cave dweller.
Huh? Cave dwellers used to live, but the descendants of Esau disposed and destroyed of them, settling in their place. Okay, that gives some clarity. Okay, thank you, Rabbi.
We see cave people.
Is that all?
Get rid of them because you didn't want them dwelling in those caves after you moved in.
So that in that Bible it's Horeb.
Horeb?
Horim. Like you said.
Okay, that's 12.
Yes.
Well, this one says Horeb.
Horim, yeah.
Is that the same as Horeb? Is the Horim the same as the Horeb?
That's the
Her
ma-
Bible has a different translation.
Hori is a cave dweller.
And that's what it's supposed to be in yours, so that's a mistranslation.
Okay, so Horeb. Because it says Horeb.
No, but it's he has it up there. But you see, it said Horites as well. That's another way to say it. But it means the same thing, cave dwellers.
Okay. Anything else there? Or are you done there?
Let's continue.
Okay.
Do you have a Andrew?
No,
Okay. Thank you.
that's pretty good.
They were the terrors.
The terrors, yeah.
Giant terrorists.
Yeah, exactly.
It lived in a cave. What is that?
In Seir, the Horim used to live, but the descendants of Esau dispossessed and destroyed them, settling in their place. Israel did similarly in the land it came to possess, which Yahweh gave to them. Now, get along and cross the Vadi Zered. So we crossed Vadi Zered. Vadi, as I recall, is a... Well, no, I was thinking of Wadi, but it probably is Wadi. It's probably the same thing. But the Vadi Zered, that would have been a place where there was an archaeological site. A tell is like a big mound of dirt where there underneath it is buried a city. And so they like to dig those up and see what city it was, what the people were like, learn as much as they can from the archaeological site. And that's what they call a wadi or a tell.
Rabbi,
Yes,
what does Zered mean?
I'll look it up. That's 12:12, so let me look it up here in 12:12.
12:13. You got one more to go. Scooch in it. No, he has it. 2, 2, 1.
Zered, right here. Machal Zered, that means the brook of Zered. And I don't know where they got Vadi, but Zered meaning to be exuberant in growth, lined with shrubbery, a brook east of the Dead Sea.
They had lots of shrubs.
Yeah. Machal means a brook, the brook of Zered. I don't know where they got that Vadi. I don't see it in here. Maybe it's a more current, modern name for that area.
I thought Vadi means valley.
Maybe. Possibly. Did you hear that scientists have discovered proof of King David's battle with Goliath in the valley of the area in Israel where that battle was fought? They found proof that King David was there and fought Goliath. I don't remember. I didn't actually get a chance to look at it because of the shortness of time, but it was very interesting. I keep seeing people finding things that prove that the Bible is accurate, you know.
Yeah, amen.
Well, we just found it underground. Well, some students found another where water was in a cave. Where they had to have been getting water from, and just recently.
Well, probably out and down in that cave, if they look a little closer, they'll find the stones that David picked up to kill Goliath with, you know.
There it could be.
You never know.
I think they're just now.
I brought back some stones at one point from that area. I was in that same valley looking around and saw some stones, and I picked them up and chuckled, and I said, "Say, I can tell people this could have been one of the stones that David slung at Goliath, you know, right here in my hand."
Maybe you already brought it back.
Yeah. So we crossed Vadi Zered, and I think that's actually not supposed to be Vadi, but it could be a more modern term meaning like the Wadi. Anyway, the time between our leaving Kadesh Barnea and our crossing Vadi Zered was 38 years. Wow. Until the whole generation of men capable of bearing arms had been eliminated from the camp, and as Adonai swore that they would be. Moreover, Yahweh's hand was against them to root them out of the camp until the last of them was gone. When all of the men who were able to bear arms had died, they were no longer a part of the people. Yahweh said to me, today you are to cross the border of Moab at Ar, and you are to approach the descendants of Ammon, and don't bother them or fight with them, for I will not give you any of the territory of the people of Ammon to possess, since I have given it to the descendants of Lot as their territory. This too is considered the land of Rephaim, whom the Emori call Zamzumim, used to live there. They were a large, numerous people, as tall as the Anakim, but Yahweh destroyed them as the people of Ammon advanced and settled in their place. Just as he destroyed the Horim as the descendants of Esau advanced to Seir and settled in their place where they live this day. It was the same as the Avim who lived in villages as far away as Azah. The Kaftorim, coming from Kaftor, destroyed them and settled in their place. Get up, get moving, and cross the Arnon Valley. Here I have put in your hands Sichon, the Emori king of Heshbon, and his land. Commence and conquest. Begin the battle. Today I will start putting the fear and dread of you into all of the people under heaven, so that the mere mention of your name will make them quake and tremble before you. I sent envoys from Kidmot Desert to Sichon, king of Heshbon, and peaceable message. Let me pass through your land. I will keep the road to the road, neither turning to the right or left. You will sell me food to eat for money and give me water to drink for money. I only want to pass through. Do as the people of Esau living in Seir and the Moabim living in Ar did with me, until I crossed the Jordan unto the land of Adonai our God has given us. But Sichon, king of Hebron, would not let us pass through his territory, because Yahweh your God had hardened his spirit and made him stubborn, so that he could hand him over to you, as is the case today. It looks like my watch has decided not to cooperate with me. There we go. Trying to relieve the pressure on my wrist. At that time we captured all his cities in verse 34 and completely destroyed every city, man, woman, little ones. We left none of them. As a booty for ourselves, we took only the cattle from among the spoil from the cities we had captured, from Aroer onto the edge of the Arnon Valley, and from the city in the valley all the way to Gilead. Gilead, that's a rolling, hilly area. There was not one city too well fortified for us to capture. Yahweh our God gave all of them to us. The only land you didn't approach was that of the descendants of Ammon, the region around the Yabak River, and the cities in the hills, wherever else Yahweh our God forbade us to go. Okay, so then we turned and went up the road to Bashan, and Og, the king of Bashan, came out against us and all his people to fight at Edrei. Yahweh said to me, don't be afraid of him, for I have given him and all his people, his territory, over to you. You will do to him as you did in Sichon of the Emori, who lived in Heshbon. So Yahweh our God also handed over to us Og, the king of Bashan, with all of his people, and we defeated him until he had no one left. At that time, we captured all of his cities. There was not one city of theirs that we didn't capture. There were 6 cities, all the region of Argob, the kingdom of Og in Bashan, and all of them fortified cities with high walls, gates, and bars, in addition to a great number of unwalled towns. We completely destroyed them, as we did with Sichon, king of the Heshbon, annihilating every city, men, women, and little ones. But we took all the livestock, along with the spoil from the cities, as booty for ourselves. At that time we captured the territory of the 2 kings of the Emori east of Jordan, between the Arnon Valley and Mount Hermon. The Hermon, which the Zedonim calls Siron and Sirion, and Emory calls Sneer, all the cities of the plains, and Gilead and all of Bashan, for all the Salah and Edrei, cities of the kingdom of Og in Bashan. Og, king of Bashan, was the last survivor of the Rephaim. His bed was made of iron, and it is still in Rabbi with the people of Ammon. It was 9 cubits long. A cubit is a forearm. It's about 1.5 feet. 9 cubits, so it's looking at probably 18 feet long. And 4 cubits wide. So that would be 4 times 1. Brain's not coming up, but anyway, it'll be somewhere around 6 feet wide. Nine cubits long, four cubits wide, using the normal cubit, 13.5 by 6 feet. So it'll be 6 feet wide. That's what it told you. And of this land that we took possession of them, I assigned to the Reubenim and the Gadi, and the territory extended from Aroer along the Arnon Valley until, together with half of the hill country of Gilad, including its cities, and the rest of Gilad and Bashan, the king of Og, I gave to the half-tribe of Manasseh. So this is where they begin to take the land that they were capturing and giving it to those who are wanting to go in ahead of the, to obtain their position ahead of the rest of the children of Israel, under the condition that they had to go across and help fight to clear the land for their brothers. So,
Right on the forefront.
right. So the whole region of Argob, together with all Bashan, from what is called the land of Rephaim. Yair, the son of Manasseh, took all the region of the Argob as far as the border with Geshuri and the Ma'achati.
What does that mean?
Ma'achati. I'm not sure. Let's go look it up. Hama'achati. It means depression, probably like a sinkhole or something. I don't know. The name of the place in Syria. Okay, so we're in chapter 3, verse 14. We'll skip down to verse 15. I gave Gilad to Machir and to the Reveni, and the Gadi I gave territory from Gilad to the Arnon Valley, which is the middle of the valley, as the border as far as the Yabok River, which is the border with the people of Ammon, and to the Arva too, the Yarden, being its border from the Kinneret Sea, which is the Sea of Galilee, of the Arava, the Dead Sea, at the foot of the slopes of Pisgah to the east. At that time I gave you this order: Yahweh your God has given you this land to possess, but all of you who are fit to fight must cross over armed ahead of your brothers, the people of Israel. Your wives, your little ones, and your livestock. I know you have much livestock. Will stay in your cities, which I have given you, until Yahweh allows your brothers to rest, as he has allowed you. They will too take possession of the land of Adonai your God is giving them on the west side of the Jordan. At that point you will return each man to his own possession, which I have given you. Also at that time I gave this order to Yehoshua, and we're coming to the end of this parsha.
I know you're tired of reading.
Your eyes have seen everything that Yahweh your God has done to these two kings. Adonai will do the same to all the kingdoms you encounter when you cross over. Don't be afraid of them, because Yahweh your God will fight on your behalf.
Amen.
The end of the parsha.
Amen. Beautiful.
Does it still help when I'm reading it real fast and we don't take time to discuss it much, but we just cruise through?
It also helps when we take time to go expand upon these names,
Right.
which then expands the meaning.
Okay. Well, that's it for tonight. May God bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you, and his understanding to grant you knowledge and understanding as you study his word. And may he be with you always as you study the word and to begin to pursue a life of service to him. Amen. Baruch Hashem. Yes, ma'am, what? Oh. Well, I guess that's it. There's a service coming up on Shabbat. Please join us at 10 a.m. for the rabbis. I teach a class called the Bible Issues. And we never know for sure what's going to come up in those classes. So you just need to come with us and enjoy the happy studies that we go through. And then again, the Torah service will be in the afternoon. We'll study these portions that we just gave and in a little different context, a little different way. So I hope you can join us. In the meantime, travel with God, and I know he will bless you. Amen?
Amen.
Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem.
Thank you for joining us for another delightful evening of our Torah class. We hope to see you again. Look forward to visit our website at tzion.org to preview the next Torah Parsha. And just click on the Torah schedule and you'll find out more. Also, just before next week, the Shabbat will follow just in a few more days. And we hope to see you then at 10 a.m. for our Bible's Issues class, followed by our 11 a.m. Shabbat service with worship, liturgy, and another teaching from Yahweh. We hope to see you again. Shalom, shalom.